do is you need to go to a+students.com. Then you need to select math as your subject. This is a grade 8 math lesson, and the name of the topic is statistics. I'll give you the chapter number and the lesson number. The chapter number is 25 and the lesson number is 7. Chapter number 25 and the lesson number is 7. And the name of the lesson is Identify an Outlier and Describe the effects of removing it. If we remove an outlier, what effect would it have? Okay, an outlier is a number that is out of the range, that is far away from the regular given set of numbers. Okay, so for the first question, it says, let's see the first question. They're asking us to select an outlier, and they are asking us if the mean would increase or decrease. Okay, the set of numbers are given to us. We need to select an outlier from this given set of numbers. Okay, and if the outlier was to be removed, what impact would it have on the mean? Okay, so in order to find the outlier, we can say that we look at the minimum number and the maximum number. Question number 1, the minimum number was 3, the maximum number was 91. That means the difference between these two numbers is 8, right? The difference between these two numbers was 8, whereas the difference between the smallest two numbers was, that's very big, right? That is 68. So that means if we draw a number line, we can say that if 3 was here, then 71, 77, 78, 79, 81, 83, and 91. These numbers were close to each other, whereas 3 is further away. So what we can say is the outlier in this particular question is 3. Agreed? Okay. Outlier is an extreme value. It could be the minimum, it could be the maximum. Okay. There is no specific formula for finding out the outliers. They're still important while doing the statistical analysis. Okay. What happens over here is, if now we need to see what effect, if the outlier were removed from the data set, would the mean increase or decrease? Let's compare. Okay, we know that the mean, this is the mean, x bar is the mean. If we need to find the mean of the numbers 3 plus 71 plus 77 plus 78 plus 79 plus 81 plus 83 plus 91. How many numbers are there in total? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we divide by 8. Let's add these numbers together. 3 plus 71, 77, 78, 79, 81, 83, and 91. The total comes out to be 563 divided by 8. That means the mean comes out to be 70.375. Okay, when the outlier is included. Let's say we find the mean when the outlier is excluded. That means we add 71, 77, 78, 79, 81, 83, and 91. But this time the numbers will be divided by 7. To find the total, what I can do is just subtract 3 from the total. That means 560 was the total divided by 7. And the mean comes out to be 80. In this case, the outlier was removed. So what is the impact of removing an outlier on the mean is that if the outlier is removed, but in this case, the outlier was a minimum value. Remember that. The mean increases. Okay? Do we agree? In this particular case, the mean was increasing because the outlier was the smallest possible number. Okay, if it would have been a greatest number, then it would have a very different impact. Okay, so let's see a question. We take a similar question and let's see if the outlier was the greatest number, right? I'll change the question. Let's do another example. For question number 2, if this information was provided to us, I will change one of the numbers. Okay, I'll say the last number given is 304. Okay, we are trying to see if the outlier is minimum number, what impact it would have. If the outlier is the maximum number, what impact would it have? Okay, for question number 2, we can say, okay, let me just highlight, make the difference. Okay, question number 1 and question number 2, such that in this case, what should be the outlier? We can say, if we draw a number line, just for our convenience, we can say 71, 77, 78, 79, 90, 83, and 91 were very close. But 304 was far away. So that means these numbers are together and 304 is the outlier for us. Agreed? It's further away. It's an extreme value. So can I say that the outlier for this given set is 304, which is the extreme value. Agreed? Now let's see what will be the mean with the outlier. When we add 71 plus 77 plus 78 plus 79, 81, 83, 91, and 304 to be divided by 8, the total came out, I'm using the previous value, 560 plus 304. It comes out to be 864 divided by 8. And the mean is 108 is the mean with the outlier. Agreed? The outlier was 304. But if we remove the outlier, if we say we remove the outlier, that means the mean without the outlier should be 71, 77, 78, 79, 81, 83, 91 divided by 7. I'm just referring to the previous value, this value over here. Okay, because the outlier is the maximum value. We remove the outlier. That means it was 560 divided by 7 and the mean was 80. Okay. In this case, if the outlier was removed, what happened to the mean? The mean decreased. Why is that so? Since in question number 2, outlier is the maximum value, right? Whereas in this question number 1, the outlier was the least value. Agreed? So a number removed from the extreme end will reduce the mean. A number reduced from the smallest end, smallest number removed, it will increase the mean. Okay, I hope you understand this, the difference. I'll do more examples. Okay, let's move ahead to the next question. For the next question, it says, for the given set of values, they're still asking us if the mean will increase or if the mean will decrease. Okay, we did question number 1 and question number 2. I'll recall that. If the outlier is the minimum number, then the mean will increase. If the outlier is the maximum number, the mean will decrease, right? Let's look at question number 3. What they are saying in question number 3 is, this information has been provided to us and we need to see what effect would it have on the mean if the outlier was to be removed, right? They're asking about the mean only. So question number 3 states that these were the numbers given to us. We already know that the difference between the maximum 2 numbers was 4 and the difference between these 2 numbers was 29, right? That means 8 is the outlier, right? So can we say the outlier would be 8? Agree? Because that's an extreme value. The difference is greater. And we know that since the minimum value was the outlier, since 8 is outlier, right? And this was the minimum value. Therefore, mean will increase. Agreed? Let's prove this. If we find the mean with the outlier, 8 plus 37 plus 39 plus, we already gave the answer, right? This is our answer already. We're just trying to prove that our answer is correct. Okay. 40 plus 41 plus 45, 46, 48 and 52. How many numbers were there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 numbers. Let's add them together. 8 plus 37, 39, 40, 41, 45. High job. 45, 46, 48, and 52. The total comes out to be 356 divided by 9. Job, we already know the answer. We're just trying to prove that when you're doing this, if you have proved multiple times, right, then you're doing the question, you will not have a problem, right? You will already know the logic behind it. So that means 39.55 was the mean with the outlier. Let's say we need to find the mean without the outlier. What we are saying is the mean should increase. 40, 41, 45, 46, 48, 52 divided by 8. That means 356 minus 8 should be 348 divided by 8. And the mean came out to be 43.5. So we can see the difference in the mean. The mean has increased. If we remove the outlier, if we remove an outlier that's the smallest number, then the mean will increase. And if we remove an outlier that's a maximum number, right? In the previous, over here, the mean is increasing because the outlier is a minimum number. If the outlier was a maximum number, the mean will decrease. That's what we need to remember. Okay? We would not have to do, when you're solving this question in your exam, if it's a 1 mark, single mark question, then you just give the answer. The mean will increase or mean will decrease. But if the question has multiple points to it, then you show the working, right? We give information based on the marks assigned to a question, right? Okay, let's try another example. Okay, question number 4. Question number 4 says, just a moment, please. Let me copy this. In question number 4, it says, this information has been provided to us. Select an outlier in the data set such that these were the given values. And they're asking us, would the mean increase or would the mean decrease? So what is the outlier over here? We can say the minimum number is 41 and the maximum was 207, right? The difference between these two numbers was 10 and the difference between these two numbers was 207 minus 93, 114. Which has a bigger gap? We know that the bigger gap is at 207, right? So we can say the outlier for this given question is 207, right? And that is the maximum value. It could have been the minimum value as well, right? What impact does a maximum value have on a mean? Would the mean increase or decrease? Let's do with the mean and without, with the outlier and without. If we need to find the mean with the outlier, that means 41, 51, 63, 67, 79, 81, 93, and 207 divided by how many values were there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 values. Let's add these numbers together. 41, 51, 63, 67, 79, 81, 93, and 207, right? It comes out to be 682 divided by 8, and it becomes 85.25. That is the mean where the outlier was included, right? If we remove the outlier, what should happen? X bar refers to mean, right? So we can say 41, 51, 63, 67, 79, 81, and 93 only to be divided by 7 values. So we can say 682 minus 207. It comes out to be 475 divided by 7. and the mean comes out to be 67.85. Why is the mean increasing? Because a very big value has been removed, right? See, I'll repeat again. When 207, that was the outlier, it is included. The mean came out to be 85.25 because the total was a bigger number. But when we remove the outlier, the mean only stays at 67.85, right? So I'll write I'll just try to explain it with outlier, which is a maximum number. Okay, if the outlier is a maximum number, mean with outlier removed, which is mean will decrease. Okay, that's exactly what we are seeing over here. It decreased. Okay, or if I say with an outlier being removed when the outlier was a minimum number, right? Outlier over here was maximum. In this case, if we consider the minimum, we say the mean will increase. This is the entirety of what we need to remember. Okay, so what we can say for this statement is when the outlier 207 is removed, what happens to the mean? The mean decreased. And this was the answer. This was the effect. Agreed? So what I wrote in this green box, you just need to remember this. When an outlier is a maximum number, the mean will decrease. When an outlier is a minimum number, the mean will increase. Okay? This is just what we need to remember. Okay, moving ahead. Let's try another question. Let's see. Okay. Let's say if we have another example, just by processing this information, we'll see what can be done, right? Then we'll prove whether our given information is correct or incorrect, right? So this was question number 4. Let's try question number 5. In question number 5, it says select an outlier in the data set such that these were the given values. If the outlier is removed, would the mean increase or would the mean decreased? Decreased, okay. So if this is our question number 5, the first thing we need to do is find the outlier. Which value is the outlier? In order to find the outlier, we look at the minimum number and the maximum number. The difference between the first two numbers was 10. And what is the difference between these two numbers? 654 minus 95. That means the difference between these two numbers was 559. That means 95 plus 559 would give us 654. That means 654 is the outlier for us. So we can say the outlier for this question was 654, and that is a maximum number. Agreed? That is the greatest number. Agreed? Without solving, let's see what happens over here. We had this information provided to us. With an outlier removed, if the outlier is removed and it's a maximum number, what should happen to the mean? We have to find this. If the outlier to be removed from the data set, would the mean increase or decrease? If the outlier is a maximum number, the impact of this on mean would be the mean will decrease, right? Do we agree on this? Because we have done the proof at the mean will decrease. I'll still do the proof for this question. Okay. Okay, just a moment, please. Okay. Let's do the proof for this. If I say the mean with the outlier, 22 plus 32 plus 44 plus 48. Yeah, what we are doing is we are trying to do the proof, right? Plus 58 plus 66 plus 89 plus 95 plus 654. You do not have to prove this in the paper if this is a 1 mark or a 2 mark question, right? If it has more points assigned to it, then you need to prove. How many values were there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 values. Let's add these 9 numbers together. 22, 32, 44, 48, 58, 66, 89, 95, and 654. The total comes out to be 1108 divided by 9, and the mean comes out to be 123.1 is the mean. Now let's try the mean without the outlier, because this here's the outlier was included, right? Now let's try without the outlier. The mean will become 22, 32, 44, 48, 58, 66, 89, and 95. And how many numerical values were there? 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. We simply divide by 8. So can I say 1008 minus 654? The total will come out to be 454 divided by 8. And the mean comes out to be 56.75. So the value of the mean from this value, it changes to this value. Is it increasing or is it decreasing? Decrease, right? Because the outlier. So that's exactly what we proved over here without solving the question. Okay. So if you take in all the values, see, we did more examples previously, right? From these examples, that 4 examples we did, we found out that this given information will always be true, right? This is what we found out. So now, since we have already found the information, we will use this information to simplify our questions. Okay, let's keep using this. Let's look at another example. Okay, just a moment, please. I'll copy another question. We have the next question would say, if for the given set of values, select the outlier in the data set. Okay. Question number 6 is this information. We are just going to process the information, okay? Just a moment. I'll change some values over here. Values were given as these values. Okay, let's not do the entire working. Let's just try to prove this. Just give an accurate answer. Okay, for this question, that was our question number 6. I'll copy this information so that we can use this information. Okay, let's try to use this information. And we make a copy, another copy of this. Okay, for this question, question number 6, let's try to find the outlier. What would be the outlier? Would it be 776? Right? 776 is way far away from 97, right? So we can say the outlier for this question is 776, which is a maximum or the largest number. Agreed? So whenever the outlier is a maximum number, okay? So whenever an outlier is a maximum number, what happens to the mean? We know that the mean will decrease, right? Mean will decrease. Agreed? If we take the same question and we say, that these were the given values to us, I'll just change one value from this question, okay? If I say these were the values given to us, but now we have an even smaller number. Let's suppose the smaller number is given as 4. Okay. So which number should be an outlier? If we just change the values, if we say this is question number 7, the minimum number was 4, the largest number was 97. The difference between the largest and the second largest number is 4. And with this, the difference was 73. Agreed? So what we can say is, if the outlier was to be removed, what is the outlier for this question? The outlier for this question is 4, which is the minimum or the least value. Okay? And according to this information that we have, whenever the outlier is a minimum number, what will happen to the mean? The mean will increase, right? Through this information. And this was happening with this information. Okay? Thank you, Job. So all we need to do is just assess the information. Okay? Let's try it again. Let's try some more questions. Thank you. Question number, I would say, if we have another question, question number 8. Let's say for the given values, these were the values given to us. Let me realign this. Select the outlier for the data set if the values provided are these. If the outlier were removed from the data set, would the mean increase or decrease? I'll keep this in the middle so that we can use this information. If this is our question number 8, what is the outlier? Thank you, Job. What is the outlier in this given question? We look at the extreme values, 2 and 97. The difference over here is 66. The difference over here is only 6. The outlier The outlier for this question is 2. That means it's the smallest number. And whenever the outlier is the smallest number, what happens to the outlier? Mean. The mean will increase because we have removed the smallest number. Agreed? Mean will increase. Okay. But if we had another set of values in which the outlier was the largest number, let's suppose 347 in question number 9. So in this case, we can easily tell. We look at the extreme values, the difference between the numbers, the difference is greater over here. And we can say the outlier for this question is 347, which is the maximum number, the greatest possible number. Perfect. Job, what will happen to the mean in question number 9? Will the mean increase or will the mean decrease? If the outlier is a maximum number, what should happen to the mean? When the outlier was the smallest number, right? The mean increased. But when the outlier was the maximum number, the greatest number, thank you, we know that. No, we know that when it outlier is maximum, the mean is decreasing, right? For question number 8, the outlier was minimum. It's the reverse of each other, vice versa. When the outlier is smallest, the mean will increase, will be the greatest. When the outlier is greatest and it is removed, yes, perfect. The mean, it will cause the mean to decrease. Okay, thank you so much. Let's reuse this information. Let's do a question more. Then let's try the exam questions, okay? For the next question, it says, just a moment. For the next question, the given information is this. Okay. There is no fixed way of finding the outlier. Outlier has to be our own understanding, right? We have to guess the outlier by looking at the difference. There's no formula, particular formula to find the outliers, okay? Thank you. What will happen over here in question number 10? If the outlier is removed, what will happen? And later on, we do question number 11. Okay, let's look at this. For question number 10, if the outlier is changed, okay, we can see the difference between these two largest numbers, right? It's a huge difference over here. That means we can say the outlier was 580. That was the maximum number. Agreed? And I just told you it's a reverse process. When the outlier is maximum, the mean would be decrease. Okay, let's look at the other question. In this case, 3 and 45 are the numbers. The difference over here is 26. The difference over here is just 4. That means the outlier for this question is 3, right? Which is the least or the minimum number. Thank you, Job. When the outlier is minimum, what will happen? What will happen over here? When it is a minimum number, see, we saw that. For the maximum, the mean becomes the minimum. It's the reverse. When the outlier is minimum, see, when the outlier is a minimum number, then the mean will increase, right? It's a reverse process. So we can say that the mean will increase. If you remove the smallest number, the mean increase. If you remove the largest number, the mean will decrease. Agreed? Okay. Let's do some questions from the test. Okay. A question or two from the test. So let's go. Sorry, I just need to go back. 25/7, chapter number 25, lesson number 7, right? Just a moment, please. I'll start the questions. We have grade 8, grade 8, 25, statistics, and okay, lesson number 7. The test says the first question from the test is, just a moment, please. It's loading. I cannot do anything about it. Okay. So the question says, if we select an outlier in a data set such that this information is provided. Okay, I'll just copy the question and let's see the effect. They are saying what effect would it have on this data set? Okay, would it increase or would it decrease? The question number 1 from the test. Would it 580 or decrease? Let's keep this in our mind, this information. Okay. So what happens over here is we look at them. Thank you, Job. Because if this is no, you're saying option number A. Job, we have two extremes over here, right? Let's see what the outlier. Just a minute. Yes, perfect. Outlier was 580. If this is maximum, the mean will decrease. Okay, thank you much, Rob. Okay, 580 and decrease. Perfect. Let's try one more question, just one more, right? And let's see what will happen over here. We just keep this information in our mind. We are not simplifying anything else, right? Okay, I cannot post it here. Let's do it on the next page. Okay, what this question number 2, what will happen? Would it increase or decrease? Just this question number 2. Still the maximum, right? Outlier is 207. So should it increase or decrease? If the outlier is maximum number, then the mean should let's suppose these two options were not given to us. What should happen to the mean? If the outlier is the maximum number, what should happen to the mean? If the outlier 207 is removed, if the maximum number is removed, then the mean will always decrease. Okay. So this is the information. I'll just get this. Okay, I'll just prove this information to you. Just give me a minute, please. Okay, sorry. If this information we had over here, which we have been using previously, I'll just prove this question, okay? We know that the outlier was maximum. If the outlier is maximum, the mean will decrease. Agreed? Perfect. Thank you so much, Rob. It would decrease. Okay. Please try the remaining few questions for the test so that you may have better practice. Okay. Thank you so much. Best of luck. Have a nice day. Take care. Bye.